All right, people, I believe we are live. That's right, doing a little Google Hangout while we build out our studio. And I am joined by the bleached, blonde, British super villain. Is it okay that I say it's bleached?
I'm a natural blonde, Dave. You know that. I just had it done again. It's great.
Yes, in case you don't know who it is at Nero on Twitter. He doesn't have a blue check, but don't hold that against him. It's Milo Yiannopoulos, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello. I've come in my heterosexual outfit for you today. I've come as straight as possible because, you know, you're like the gay one out of the two of us, I often think, you know? Like, I'm the one who's kind of like, oh, gay marriage is crap and what's going on? And you're the one with, like, the husband and, you know, you're much camper than I am. So I thought I'd just sort of meet you where you live today. So I've come with my Don't Tread on Me rainbow Gadsden flag.
Thank you for upping your gay to match my gayness. I don't think that happened before. That's never happened for another gay person before.
How are you, darling?
I'm good. I'm good. First off, I just want to tell you, I'm seeing those rainbow Don't Tread on Me flags. I live in West Hollywood over here, which is pretty much the gay capital of the world. I'm seeing those posters all over the place. No joke.
Yes, well, it's partly the result. Well, actually, it's almost entirely fueled, of course, by conservatives because it's the Gadsden flag. Obviously, it is. People are putting them up all over the place. It's an interesting consequence of a horrible thing that happened. People are rediscovering, I think, a sense of sort of gay defiance and they're rediscovering, you know, what it might mean to protect yourself and to take your own, you know, your protection into your own hands. I think the left is realizing, we're going to get into this in the course of the conversation, I think, the left is realizing that all of this sort of peace and love bullshit from dumb as fuck celebrities and all of the, you know, gun control hysteria from liberals is only making them less safe. And
so are you saying that every time one of my friends on the left says we have to beat evil with love and hope and happiness, that's not how you beat it?
I'm suggesting to you, and this may be a radical proposition, that mullahs in Iran and indeed hate preachers in the north of Orlando might confront, you know, hashtag strong together, you know, hashtag proud to be with a chuckle and then continue their plans to kill us. Yes.
It's so controversial with you. It never stops. All right, so let's pause for a second.
No, I mean, I just think I speak common sense, but
yeah. All right, so we're going to get into a lot of stuff, but I want to just remind people, first off, I want to thank you for doing this because, as you know, we went independent last week, and we're
excited for you. No more editorial oversight. You can finally unleash the inner beast that has been waiting to come out.
You've called me a cultural librarian, but I'm entering my cultural libertarian phase right now, right? So everyone's been crushing it on Patreon, and we've done really well on there. But what we're going to do is we want to get to our next tier, which is the 30K tier, and Milo's going to help out. So anyone that donates over 25 or more on Patreon for this hour while we're doing this, you're going to get a live shout out by me and Milo, and maybe I can convince Milo to say something mean about you. I know you're busy today and distracted.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I'll try. I'm actually in Alaska. I'm here visiting my friend Ben, who some people from the internet will know, Pizza Party Ben.
Of course.
He's the head of the troll army for Trump. Yeah, so I'm up in Alaska. Did you know that there is a town about 20 minutes drive from me whose mayor is a cat? It's a true thing. It's a cat. It's a cat with no tail that lives in a bar, and it is the mayor of the town. And Sarah Palin, when she was mayor of Wasilla, used to serve with this cat on like the mayor's council. Isn't that amazing? This is Alaska, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm guessing that town probably functions better than 90% of the towns in America.
Absolutely, it does. Yes, it's the cleanest, best run, cheapest, nicest place to live in a 100-mile radius. Of course, it is.
This is sort of your theory, because you've told me this about Trump before, that for all the bravado and all this craziness, the way you think Trump would actually govern would be that he wouldn't do that much. So I guess having a cat in charge that's just licking itself and, you know, fiddling around with its tail and looking for mice, that's your type of governance.
Well, Belgium didn't have a government for a very long time. And I mean, obviously, you know, Belgium does have some problems, not least with homegrown jihadism. But aside from that, which is, you know, a bigger cultural problem, the people of Belgium noticed precisely no difference whatsoever to their daily lives when they simply didn't have a government. And it went on for quite a while. I mean, not talking like 3 week kind of like 3 week crisis. It was months, possibly even a year or something. The country just didn't have a government. And guess what? Everything was great. People were like, oh, the world didn't collapse, you know? The feeling did not cave in. I have something of the same feeling about a Trump presidency, which is that I think he's going to build a wall, which is good, and fix trade, which is good. And then he's going to get so locked up with Congress and, you know, whatever, and all the things that he wants to do that he won't be able to do. He's going to be kind of like a blustery Coolidge. Coolidge being the best president in US history because he did so little. Calvin Coolidge. You know, he's just going to be kind of like a blustery Coolidge, and that's awesome. And, you know, I'm well, anyway, everyone knows I'm
yeah. So your thing. So let's just do a little bit of Trump, and then I want to get into some of the more interesting stuff at the moment because we've talked Trump before. But your thing basically with Trump is that people really aren't voting on what he's saying as much as this social justice stuff, all of the fear that the left has created over saying certain words and not dealing with Islamism properly and not having an honest conversation about immigration. These things that basically that concept, that fear that people are walking around in of their own thoughts, that's really what's driving you to Trump, right? It's not about policy per se.
That's definitely what's driving me to Trump. Although I do want him to build the wall, and I do want him to fix some of the trade things. I think there's a slice of the American population which has not been served well by successive governments, and I think they deserve a crack of the whip. That's probably a bad choice of expression given. But you know, more broader, I'm a culture person. I care because ultimately I think the realm of ideas and discussion and debate in the public square, journalism, you know, whatever, is you know, one of the most important bits of civic society, and that's the bit I live in and the bit I care about the most, and the bit you live in and you care about the most. And the general effect of Donald Trump is to open up, and we've seen this happen already. This is already happening. The general effect of Donald Trump is to shine a light on who the authoritarian nannies are, who the people are who want to control your life, whether they're on the right or the left, and open up the space for ordinary people to express opinions which had become, for no good reason, professionally dangerous and socially disadvantageous. So, you know, the thing for me is the individual things that Trump says, you know, he's no more or less consistent than any other politician, I don't suppose. He's certainly a lot less corrupt than most politicians. He is a lot more honest than most politicians. The extent to which he speaks, you know, with too much bluntness and turns some people off, I think the overall effect of Donald Trump is going to be to smash the stranglehold of political correctness on American public life. And he is supported in that effort by the cultural libertarian movement and free speech activists like us. And I think it's a good thing. And he, you know, the people who have come out most strongly against Trump are all of the worst people in the world. The people who hate him the most are the people who are tearing America apart. The people who hate him the most are the people who are going to destroy the United States of America if they are allowed to run rampant and to continue to hold to have purchasing and hold sway over the media, the entertainment industry, and academia. If these people are allowed to run those three great cultural institutions of American public life, they will destroy the country. And the people who hate him the most are the people who are the problem. And that, to me, speaks volumes. And for me, it's a you know, a vote for Trump, even if it's just a sort of cultural protest vote. And I say even if, actually, that's not a terrible reason to vote for a president at all. You know, America was founded on ideals, not on, you know, GDP. You know, America was founded on ideals. If you're voting for ideals, and that ideal is freedom, you know, probably the most fundamental and significant ideal on which the you know, your great country, the best country in the world, was founded. It's not a terrible basis to vote for president, really not at all. And this election being fought culturally rather than economically, culturally rather than on the basis of foreign policy, this election would be a good time to send a message, not just to the, you know, boring octogenarian half-wits of the Republican establishment, but also to the social justice warriors on the left and their enablers. You know, the people who turn a blind eye at the excesses of Black Lives Matter, the people who allow the worst kind of misandrist, lesbianic, hateful feminism to speak for all women and all feminists, you know, who do not call out bad feminism when they see it and have in fact allowed bad feminism to completely take over the entire movement. Those people deserve a kick in the teeth. And if Trump can give it to them, I think you should vote for him.
All right, so there is the opening statement of Milo Yiannopoulos. There you go. I think that was sort of that's your ballpark stuff. That's what sort of made you the supervillain of the internet. So we got that out of the way. But let's talk about what's going on. I know you can't believe that I even said that. You can't believe it. But wait, let's go. Enough with Trump. Let's talk about the Orlando thing, because I think it has hit something huge, something that we are both gay. So this attack, any attack would have been personal because I'm an American. So any attack on our soil would have been personal. But this attack particularly was personal because for us, we're gay. We know what it's like to go to a gay club, go to a gay bar, where it's one of the only, this is in a case where I'll use the word safe space in a not joking way, that a gay bar is a safer space for gay people to be okay with. I know I mock the phrase safe space all the time. It's not safe for ideas, meaning it's safe for you to be who you are there. And we know that an Islamist who called 911 to pledge allegiance to ISIS murdered these 50 people. There's a chance that this guy was gay, and his own self-hatred, which could have only been instilled with him through a backwards religion, a backwards ideology, forced him to do this. And the left, of course, completely dropped the ball. And I'm fighting to make my people relevant. And instead, they hand these issues to guys on the right. And this is where me and you, look, a lot of what you just said, I think is a little over the top, that Trump's going to save the world in that way. But I think this issue is somewhere where we see things completely eye to eye.
You know what amazes me is the cowardice of the left. So I went down to Orlando. The police lied and said they couldn't guarantee my safety. So they canceled my college talk. Then I set up a press conference for the following day, and the university got spooked and they canceled that. So I ended up having a press conference at ground zero, like down where this shit had happened. Mm-hmm. And just gave most of the speech that I was going to give at the college and took questions from the press. It was big. It was like 100, 200 people, whatever it was. I don't even know. Took our own private security down, all the rest of it. And I took Gavin McInnes, who many of your viewers will know. He is a commentator for the Rebel Media and for the Anthony Cumia Network, or whatever. And we, having taken our own private security with like snipers on the roof and guys around behind us, and the New York Times and Deutsche Welle and the Washington Post watching, kissed after Gavin McInnes's sort of little spiel. He said, "You know what? Fuck you, Islam. This is America." And we kissed, and it was like a kind of a dangerous thing to do a few days afterwards. I've been telling the police had been telling me, "Don't go out, don't give this speech. You're going to get yourself into trouble. You're in danger. We can't protect you." So we did that. And then the response from the left, like 2 days later, when everybody had sort of heard about it but pretended they didn't know about it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, they're just making it all about them. They're just like right-wing attention seekers." Then there's this kind of like two men kissing thing where people are just like sitting in their living rooms and going, "Darling, I love you. Isn't this terrible? We're so strong together. We're so brave." I'm just like, who's really taking the risks here? Right. Who's really like getting out onto this? And this is the problem, not just with this problem on both sides, actually. People who are just lazy and don't really care and want to express themselves in the most lazy and easy way possible, either with the kind of peace, love and understanding, or the virtue signaling of we must stop gun culture. Well, you know what, the world isn't as you want it to be. You can't just evaporate, like you can't just poof all the guns in America away. There are like millions of guns in circulation, and the only thing you can do is arm people so they can protect themselves. Is literally all you can do.
Right. I saw more outrage over you in some instances from people on the left. More outrage that you were instigating hate, and you're just this provocateur who whatever. And look, you admit you are a provocateur. That's what you're doing. But
of course, but I went down there to underscore the hypocrisy.
Yeah.
I went down there to underscore the hypocrisy of the left. Just say, you know what? You have screwed up so badly that this minority, these gay people that you thought you owned for 3 decades or whatever or more, you just lost it all in a day by acting wrongly after this. The whole massed ranks of like the gay establishment, celebrities, the media, all immediately came out with this peace, love and understanding bullshit and anti-NRA, anti-gun stuff. And ordinary gay people are at home being like, hang on a minute, no, you don't serve my interests here. You are not speaking for me. You are pushing your own politics. This has got nothing to do with gay people, and it's got everything to do with your politics. And gay people have been suspecting this for quite some time. In the last election in the UK, 50% of gay men said they were going to vote Conservative. And The Guardian, our left-leaning newspaper, reported this with horror. They can't understand how gay people could be so ungrateful. Well, I'll tell you how we're so ungrateful. We're ungrateful because the left has abandoned us. We are ungrateful because the people who claim to have gay people's interests at heart are pushing their own far left crazy ideologies instead of advocating things that would make gay people happier, safer, and richer. When was the last time?
Basically, they're putting the Oppression Olympics in effect, and they're saying that Islam holds a higher slot than gays, right? Is that like
the problem with that is Muslims want to kill everyone else on the list. You put them at the top of the oppression pyramid, the top of the victim hierarchy. They want to kill everyone else on that list: blacks, trannies, gays, you name it. And I want every gay charity in America to be shut down as a result of their response to this. When was the last time you heard a gay charity genuinely doing anything to make gay people safer? I've heard a lot from them in the last 2 years about transgender pronouns, but when was the last time you heard from them about HIV? How much money and attention are they spending, relatively speaking? How many column inches are they getting on those two issues? Just out of interest, because what I see is them pursuing far left issue of the moment horse shit at the expense of gay people who are experiencing, and actually everybody's experiencing, skyrocketing HIV infection rates. Where are the gay charities addressing the fact that 52% of black American gay men will test positive for HIV in their lifetimes? I've never heard about it. Why? Because they're so fucked up and confused. They don't even know if it's racist to address it. Like, can we even say that black people have AIDS at a higher rate? Doesn't that just perpetuate? Fuck you. Fuck you.
So they've trapped their own crazy logic dealing with race and religion and all that has trapped them into this bullshit. So a great example of this.
I have a vested interest in this. I don't want black Americans to have AIDS because I'll get it. I want these charities to actually do stuff that's going to help gay people. Like, for instance, be realistic, and instead of parrot Hillary Clinton's talking points about the NRA and about evil Southern gun culture, maybe do what gay people are doing in their hundreds of thousands, and look at the world as it really is and say, there are these people out there who want to kill us. Muslims don't like gays very much. Not Islamists, not terrorists, Muslims. They don't like gays very much. And this is not me being like some crazy right-wing lunatic. 100% of British Muslims in a Gallup poll a couple of years ago said that homosexuality was unacceptable, that they did not approve it as a lifestyle choice. 52% of them, or maybe 51%, I forget, but within a percent of that, believe that it should be made illegal. This is not Islamism or terrorism. This is Islam. This is Muslims. And if you find that uncomfortable, tough shit. Where are the gay charities telling gay people how to protect themselves? Where are the gay charities saying, you know what, maybe we don't want like guns in nightclubs because guns around people drinking is not such a good idea, but here are all the places you can go to like learn how to use a firearm to protect yourself and your boyfriend and your loved ones, whatever. They don't do.
And the simple answer to that, of course, is that if those numbers were reflected in the Christian population, the left would be going bonkers. But let's pause for a second, because I know people want to hear from you. So you got to, Darren, say hi to Darren, quick. Say hi to Darren. What do you think?
Hello, Darren. What do I have to say about them?
You love Darren, right? Just say you love Darren.
I love Darren.
You love Trenton, don't you love Trenton?
I do love Trenton. I've always been a fan of Trenton.
You love the Skeptic Fence Show, am I right?
The Skeptic Fence Show. They sound like atheists, but I'm going to say for you, Dave, just for you, that I love them.
That's right. You love Mayor Stubbs. He's the cat up in Alaska. He just donated $20.
Yes, it is Mayor Stubbs. Yes, we love Mayor Stubbs.
You love Tanner, don't you love Tanner?
I do love Tanner. Tanner.
Tanner.
Do you know it's called Stubbs because it doesn't have a tail?
Oh, is that right? Mayor Stubbs. All right. Okay, so let me quick radio reset what we're doing here. I'm here with Milo Yiannopoulos, and he's helping me out with our Patreon push. Oh, and by the way, I didn't even say this at the beginning, but we have someone, a private donor, who is matching everything that you guys donate while I'm on with Milo. Will match up to $5,000. So basically, any number that you give while we're doing this is doubled. So it's patreon.com/Rubin Report. All right, so let's jump back in. So I want to talk to you about the virtue signaling, because I really do love this phrase. And it's something that I see so much again, on the left, I'm trying to get these people to be better. But this woman,
great cancer of American public life.
so this woman, Sally Cohn, who works for CNN, after the Orlando thing, was tweeting.
I was so distressed by the name Sally Cohn, I just threw my shit everywhere.
she was tweeting up a storm about how all the religions are bad and they're all equally bad and they're extremists in all of them and just everything's equal. And I tweeted at her and I said, which one, can you at least say which one would be worse for an outspoken Jewish lesbian? Because that's what she is. She's a Jewish lesbian on CNN who gives her opinions for the reason. Can you at least
lesbian on CNN? Let me guess her politics. No.
But of course she didn't respond, even though it got hundreds, if not thousands, of retweets. And it's like you call them on their bullshit and they just disappear. But it's abject horseshit, and it needs to be fought.
She is, and she knows I've called her this now because she sent me an email saying, thanks for the shout out in your Orlando press conference. My Orlando press conference, by the way, every fucking major media organization was there. None of them reported on it. Why? Because it was too fucking awkward. Because they knew they'd get back to their editors and editors would be like, no. You know, and the Washington Post guy said that. He told somebody else, one of my team, that he didn't know worked for me. Because I've got like, every time I do one of these talks, I just like, you know, put people in the audience to go and like ask around and whatever. And one of my guys was just wandering up as a member of the public, talking to the press there. And the Washington Post guy and the New York Times guy both said the same thing. Both the person from the New York Times and the Washington Post, both, of course they were there, right? And multiple people there. They were there and they said, yeah, my editor just won't go for this. But it doesn't matter because, you know, what you're doing with your new independent show, you know, crowdfunded, which is amazing, and people should support you, I think, because you know, this is the one of the only things I watch with any regularity. So you know, you should definitely support him. But the other thing,
I like when you get humble. Doesn't that feel good? Doesn't your heart feel good when you do that?
I don't know if it was humility. I was just pretending to be nice because you're giving me an hour of attention on the internet. No, you know, like Dave knows I love him. I do love him. What was I saying? Yeah, so they all just knew their editors wouldn't run it. But you know, it doesn't matter because what you're doing and the kind of numbers you get, and by now I think probably millions of people have seen my press conference now. The copy on my YouTube alone, which is one of 5 platforms that are just mine, and there were loads of other people like the Blaze and whatever streaming it. That one's at like 900,000 views. Millions of people saw that without a shred of broadcast coverage. So you know, the journalists that are enabling a lot of this stuff. I know I'm wandering off topic slightly, but the journalists that are enabling a lot of this stuff. Increasingly cease to matter. And I wrote a column today with my customary modesty. It was titled "My Fame: An Update."
Oh, I saw it. You
did? Oh, good. You promised you would read from it.
You love your Google charts. If there's anything that you can put in a Google chart.
Oh, I love my Google Trends graphs. I love them. No, I absolutely adore my Google Trends graphs, mainly because they show me as being more famous than everybody I know. But you know, I'm starting to overtake people I used to look up to, like Ben Shapiro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean.
All right. All right. Go ahead.
And who else? Piers Morgan. I'm more interesting than Piers Morgan. Jeb Bush. Glenn Beck, I've now overtaken. I mean, these are like big, these are, you know, and almost every Fox News host. So you look up Hannity, O'Reilly, and Megyn Kelly. This isn't in the article actually, but I tweeted this the other day. These are people with daily shows that go to like millions of people on Fox. More people are searching for me.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I watch these shows sometimes on CNN and Fox and MSNBC, and you see what these people who have major TV time, right? They have major millions of dollars behind them. Nobody retweets them. Nobody engages with them. Nobody cares what they say, but they go to parties with the politicians. And
these people just aren't that interesting. I should say Sean Hannity, I think, is great, and I love Sean Hannity. I don't want to say a bad word about him because I think he's been great the last couple of months. But people just don't find them that interesting, but they find you interesting and they find me interesting. I'm obviously like really rich, so I don't need your money, but Dave could do with some help because Dave is going independent and Dave is, you know, breaking free of the shackles of his corporate overlords and he's going to run the show himself, which I think is very brave and very exciting.
The conservatives have all the money. Oh, you guys always have all the money. I've worked with progressives. They had no money. I've seen the conservative, what's going on with the money. I'm trying to be a good guy on the left. There's not a lot of money in that, but my fans have shown up, and it's awesome. So that's very cool.
No, I mean, every single venture capital investment in left-leaning in media companies has been to left-leaning media companies in the last, I don't know, 20 years. That's simply not true. If you're not getting investment, you don't you don't have the right kind of business or venture capital or whatever. All of the money is on the left in media. Of course,
it's on regressive left, I would argue, and not sort of a true liberal free speech.
Well, there is no true liberal free speech left. I mean, there aren't any of you, and there are no publications like that. So, of course, anything that goes to a left-leaning publication is going to a crazy left-leaning publication because they are now the same thing. There is no difference. If you want to support like if you're interested in like libertarian, center-right, sensible, fact-based thing on the right, you could go to like Reason. You could go to like a bunch of places. There isn't anything on the left anymore. They're all mental. And readers are starting to notice. And there's another graph in the piece that I published today, My Fame and Update, available at Breitbart News. Go to breitbart.com/Milo. That I'm getting better at this. No, because I always forget to, anyway. There's another graph there that shows like Slate and the Atlantic and Salon, all their traffic going blah, 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 and me starting to overtake them all in searches, right? That's very significant.
So how much do you fear that some of this, because a lot of the tech money is what I would say coming from the regressive left, and we know these crazy speech things on Twitter. You got banned again the other day. Can you describe, I think everyone wants to know, when you get these bans for an hour out of nowhere, or what happened after Orlando was I think you were getting death threats, and they decided to ban you. When that happens for an hour, what is that like? Like, you just suddenly can't get in, and then how do you get back? Like, what actually is happening?
Oh, well, I only know it has happened because my staff tell me it's happening, because I've never been actually on the computer when it's happened. But on the phone, it just doesn't let you tweet and just says you've been suspended, but it still lets you go to the mentions column and like read everyone that's mentioning you. So I can see.
Did they tell you why you got suspended?
Oh no. Sometimes they don't even send you an email. You just get a little thing saying you've been suspended. Learn more. You have to go to this long page of bullshit and then find a link that's buried in the bottom of nowhere, and then click that. There's a form to fill out, and you think you've done it, and then there's a little email they send you like a little while later, not immediately, which says, "Oh, you've got in small writing, reply to this, so we know we've got the right email for you. Otherwise, we won't do anything. And if you miss that, it goes into the ether. And if you do reply to that, eventually, sometimes, perhaps, something will happen." But obviously Twitter, I mean, I'm pretty convinced there's like a person at Twitter paid full time to deal with the Milo Yiannopoulos problem. They really don't like me very much. Cause a lot of headaches for them. And I get unsuspended faster than I've ever seen anyone get unsuspended in the history of Twitter, because they're like, oh shit, it's happened again. We can't deal with the press. So,
and aren't they pulling a little bit of an Obi-Wan with you? Like, if you strike me down, I'll become more powerful than you can possibly imagine. Because every time you come back, you have more followers. So it's like they're feeding the beast out of their own ineptitude.
I mean, like, keep suspending me, guys, please. It's working great. You put me on the front cover of Drudge. Thanks, buddy.
Milo, you're holding a lighter. Are you going to burn the whole place down now? That's what this is all about for you people.
No. I just lost my lighter, and I was going to have a cigarette with you, but I don't know what I did with my cigarettes. You can come if you want. Yeah, come with me. I'm going to have a smoke.
Yeah, I'm going to come with you. While you're doing that, tell Cameron how much you love him. You love Cameron, don't you?
I love, Cameron. I've always been attracted to Camerons. I've always been sexually attracted to Camerons. Almost every Cameron I've ever met, I thought was pretty.
Look behind you. You got a tie-dye flag. You got a Trump thing. You got a Confederate flag.
This is not my house, but okay. but there are some interesting and thoroughly sound flags around.
Milo, tell Shinigami how much you love him or her.
Shinigami, I love you so much. I love you enough to tell you change your name.
And what about Stacy? What do you think about Stacy?
Stacy, you seem fine.
Yeah. She's gonna want more than that. She donated money. I love Stacy. How about that? And
Stacy,
everything you donate while I'm live, everything you donate while I'm live, 25 and above gets doubled up to $5,000. So please jump in.
You have transcended the limitations of your gender and become a sensible, God-fearing, serious person with excellent taste, and donated to Dave Rubin. And for that, I can only congratulate you.
Look at you. So you're in Alaska right now. That
wasn't quite what you wanted, was it? What?
What's the weather like in Alaska right now?
It's nice. It's sunny. Can you see me? Yes.
Yeah.
No, it's nice. I'm just up seeing friends and having some fun. I did a video up here about Brexit,
That's exactly what I wanted to talk to you about. So I watched your video, and you were decked out in a suit, beautiful Alaskan mountains behind you, and you talked about it. And a lot of people have asked me about it. And my general feeling, I've said I'm not an expert on Brexit, but my general feeling is that every nation has the right to protect its borders as it see fit. And I tend to think with everything going on there right now that I would be for it. You laid out a pretty damning case why you are for it.
Yeah, but mine was based on one very simple, very straightforward, and very specific issue. And it wasn't an issue to do with GDP or even national sovereignty, which conservatives are normally upset by, because I don't care as much about that. Well, of course I do care about it, as the Muslim problem. Now, I started being outspoken about this. Oh, congratulating myself there, because I think plenty of people are. But I sort of came clean about just how strong my views were on this subject on your show first. And you said, do you want to make a distinction here between like Islamists and Islam? And I said no. And in press appearances since and in columns, I've explained why that is the case, and shared studies with people that show the social attitudes of Muslims, not just in the East, but in the West too.
Right. Wait, let me pause you there for 1 sec, since we've done this a couple times and you don't like that distinction that I consistently make. So I think it's a good little spot for us. Do you, at the end of the day, I personally, if there were Muslim people, and I would say this about Christians or Jews or anywhere else, if there were people that didn't want gay marriage or didn't approve of gayness, blah, 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 as long as they weren't harming gay people, I wouldn't be happy with their political choices, but I would be okay with their right to be here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know why the left? I've worked out why the left gets confused on this. I've worked out the specific kind of idiocy among her many different kinds of idiocy that Sally Cohn has fallen victim to here. It's the fact that the left has eroded the distinction between speech and action over the last 30 years. It has begun to call words violent on campus. I figured it out yesterday. On campus, they call words violent. They need safe spaces from opinions. So of course they think Christians are just as bad as Muslims, because even though the extent of a Christian's homophobia is going to be saying, do you know what, I'd probably rather not bake a cake for you, and the extent of a Muslim's homophobia is, I'm going to kill 50 of you. The left doesn't really see the difference between words and action. It has forgotten that there is a big fucking difference, a difference enshrined in law, a difference that most ordinary people, most people with a brain understand instinctively. There is a difference between me saying, I don't like you very much, and me punching you in the face. One of them is legal and perfectly reasonable. The other is not. And when you forget that there is a difference between words and action, and when you are, some cosseted, rich, white, coastal blogger cunt, and you think that, my opinions about whatever it is, Black Lives Matter constitute violence, well, of course you're going to start to lose perspective when actual acts of violence occur. So this is what's happening on the left. This is their problem. This is why they can't wrap their heads around the difference, and they can't get perspective between Christians who, I'll give you an example, the response from Muslims versus the response from Christians to me in the last 2 weeks. My store, which sells like tickets for my tour and t-shirts for the tour and all the rest of it, has received, I think today, I didn't even check the days. In one day, they received 100 death threats and threats of violence from Muslims in a mixture of English and Arabic. Now, we don't make a big song and dance about it. I mentioned it, of course, but I haven't gone on a victimhood tour like the left does because it's beneath me. But basically, that my staff were terrified. They were threatening to blow up the warehouse, all this kind of shit, right? Now, that's the response from Muslims to not liking my opinions, right? The response from Christians when I went down to Orlando, the response from Christians who this was a group of Christian volunteers who have previously objected to gay marriage. Their response was, "May we pray for you?" And it wasn't like trying to pray the gay away. They were like, "Thank you for coming down. What you're doing is brave. Like, God loves you, and we admire you, and what you're doing is really important. And go out there and speak the truth as you see it." That was the response from Christians.
So what would you say then to the Christians now who still aren't on board? Because I gotcha. There's a huge difference between shooting people and the fucking cake, which I'm so sick of hearing about the cake. But a lot of the conservative Christian community has done a lot to fight gay marriage, right? So we have it now. So we got it. So it's a net win. And they
but who cares? Who cares? I don't particularly like gay marriage. That's just a set of opinions. That's something for us to discuss. You might not like those politics, but that's a cause for discussion, debate, and you know, political fighting, and you know, whoever wins wins. Whoever wins the popular vote, whoever persuades the public, you know, changes the course of how that society is governed and organized, right? If you win the people over, you get what you want, and you do that through persuasion. And the left has done that with gay marriage, and I've kind of come to the view that, you know, you can't really stop people who love each other from declaring that in, you know, in official capacity, and they should have the right to do X, Y, Z. And, you know, yeah, fine, like the state should probably recognize that. I just wish they wouldn't do it, but whatever, you know, you can't stop people. But that's, and I don't understand why people like Sally Cohn don't see this. That is it not somewhat different from hate preachers saying, as the guy who was in Orlando 4 weeks ago, in that hate mosque in Sanford in the north of Orlando 4 weeks ago, giving a lecture saying about how we fix the homosexuality problem. This guy is on record saying the compassionate thing to do in Islam is to kill all gays, right? And then somebody who, you know, in Orlando, who went to these mosques, you know, who declared himself for ISIS, killed a load of gays. I mean, we don't do this in Christianity. If we did, it was a very long time ago, and there's nothing to be gained by
the Crusades.
There's nothing to be gained by playing whataboutery with with history. You know, today, what is happening? Today, who is causing the problem? Today, how do we protect the most vulnerable minorities and the most vulnerable people in our society, right? And I don't happen to think women are particularly vulnerable anymore. I think they're probably the most privileged group, you know, like white middle class women who always make these complaints, probably the most privileged group in the history of civilization. But they're not as physically strong as men, all the rest of it, if you know, and they deserve not to be brainwashed into wearing fucking hijabs, in my view. But again, that's a matter of opinion. When you start to enforce your political or social opinions through violence, that's when there's a problem. That is the moment you know that the whole world should be saying, you are the problem and we're going to do what it takes to protect ourselves from you. But the left doesn't do that. The left instead starts making excuses for them, saying, oh, well, the West created this problem. Look, this infantilizes Muslims to the status of children who lack free will. It infantilizes them to, you know, to being the mindless automaton products of American foreign policy. That's fucking insane.
Well, Douglas Murray, who I know you know, who's been on my show, who I absolutely love, who also is gay. So I think that's one of the things that's interesting happening about gays being outspoken right now. You know, gays are always thought of as outspoken, like we like drag shows, which I never liked, but like
we haven't been for 30 years.
But now it's like we're the ones on the front lines. Like I really feel that. I was at the Gay Pride Parade here in West Hollywood the Sunday after Orlando, and there were truckloads of cops, and it looked like army trucks. Like, it was nuts. It's like we are on the front line of this now.
Because it's become dangerous to be gay again. Why? Islam. Like, it hasn't become physically dangerous to be gay in America because of evangelicals, because of Mormons, because of Zoroastrians. It's not the fucking Buddhists, you know, that have got police out protecting gay pride marches. It is Islam. And that is the case everywhere you look in Europe, where Islam has, you know, has had a huge influx. It's the case in Germany, it's the case in Sweden, Malmo now, the rape capital of Europe. You know, they attack women, they attack gays. I'm going to go to Sweden in a couple of weeks and lead the parade in Sweden through a Muslim ghetto, because actually nobody knows this yet, so this is breaking news. Last year, you'll remember that the Swedish authorities, Swedish government, you know, these sort of far left social justice lunatics who are trying to create, you know, a progressive paradise in Sweden. Well, I'll tell you what a progressive paradise looks like: a broke country where all the women get raped.
Now, I mean, we get a ton of email from Sweden. I had Tino Sanandaji there, who's one of the only people who will talk about the immigration situation.
Right. So a year ago, Swedish authorities told a gay march off for being too unnecessarily provocative for marching through a Muslim area. Now, to my mind, the point of gay pride was always to be brave and defiant in the face of hateful social conservatism, right? As I thought that was it. That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. And so I'm going to go, and I'm going to be there in Sweden in a couple of weeks, march through this heavy Muslim area, to remind people, I hope it will remind people in Europe at least, what the problem is today. It is not Buddhists or Christians or Zoroastrians or Confucians or even much maligned atheists. None of this None of these people are taking to the streets with assault rifles to kill gays.
Wait a minute, are you telling me that there's no atheist in the name of not believing in something that you can't prove is killing gay people?
We're not going to get into the religion argument because I don't want to embarrass you by beating you in another debate. But
what I was right there. What do you think about Justin? You love that Justin guy, don't you?
Justin is amazing. My first boyfriend was called Justin. It maybe this is
Harold. You definitely love Harold.
I do love Harold.
And Daniel. Oh my God.
Daniel, it's good Christian, or maybe a Jewish name. Either is fine. We like you.
Let's not forget about Craig.
Craig, yes, Craig is good. Craig is a British name. Lots of British Craigs. Maybe it's somebody from my home country.
Yeah. All right. So what we're doing here, patreon.com/Rubin Report. Everything up to $5,000 is being matched right now. So in effect, you guys are giving me double to keep the show going and build it out and all that stuff. And Milo is playing along and giving me the Trump thing. How did this become a Trump thing?
Oh, it was Ben, who I'm staying with. Do you know, everyone says I have stumpy fingers like Trump. Do you think I have stumpy fingers? I don't think I have stumpy fingers. They're normal fingers, right?
Those look, they're a little Trumpy and a little stumpy. A little Trump stump.
It's a perfectly normal hand. It's a completely normal hand.
Oh, I wish I could just push that in your face right now. That would be, all right. It's a perfectly normal. Hey, you know what? I asked you to do this before. I don't know what the rest of your day is pulling out. You got any booze over there? We'll do some shots to raise some.
No, I'm not drinking. I'm on a new workout regime. I'm not drinking.
You're a binge and go guy. Because I've been with you where you drink like crazy and then you just won't eat for 6 months.
Well, I mean, I eat, but I eat like protein shakes and whatever, you know. So yeah, no, I'm a binger for sure. So I'm just entering into my health binge. Look at this. Look, I might as well have AIDS. The number of fucking pills my trainer makes me take. Look at this. This is like a day, just like full of like you can't see it. Just
do like Ray Kurzweil singularity, live forever thing.
Well, I'm already going to live forever. I'm going to live forever in the minds of the people. Hopefully by dying young and tragically, so people fight in my name for generations. But
wait one second. My guys are telling me that a lot of people are donating on PayPal right now. So if you want to get a shout out, you got to do it on Patreon. So it's RubinReport.com. It's patreon.com/Rubin Report. Everything's being doubled up to $5.
I've never heard somebody tell you off for giving money before. Stop it. You people who are giving money on PayPal, you suck.
No, you're good people too. We love you. We love you. You're good people too. And anything over $25, you're getting a shout out from $25 and above on Patreon. You're getting a shout out.
Have your people listed to PayPal as well, so we can be nice to the PayPal people, because I love them even if you don't, Dave.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Here's what they're telling me. There are over 4,000 people watching this right now. So if everyone gave $1, then we get it matched like that. Okay. Done with the
sales. You see what happens when I come and join one of your streams? You get numbers almost approaching my numbers. You see? There we go.
You realize every time I see you, the first I say, Milo, how are you? It's nice to see you. How you doing? What's going on? The first thing you tell me is about the numbers that you've drawn to me, and then
I would ask you only, am I wrong?
You're a numbers guy. You deliver numbers. What can I tell you?
I'm sorry. I'm so mean. No, look. You see, the reason we make such a good team is that we are greater than the sum of our parts, combined. We have reasonable, persuasive, kind, relatable, nice guy, and we have Dave Rubin. We're a very, very good team. So we produce excellent results and good product. Yes, what?
Quite a good product. I agree.
Yes. What? Actually, your appearance on my podcast is one of the fan favorites so far, and I reluctantly confess this might be because it's the only conversation we've ever had in which I've let you speak.
It's true. It was so pleasant. I just was able to get a sentence out. By the way, if people want to listen to that, which they can get it on iTunes, and I think you put it on YouTube also. That was about 2 weeks before the Orlando thing. And in the middle of it, around 40 minutes in, you asked me, what do I think the biggest issue with the regressive left is? And I said Islam and the gays. I mean, that's what I said, because I view this as...
You've been talking about this. We've been talking about this.
Yeah, you put an ideology that is directly against one of your protected classes above that protected class. And that is so fundamentally dangerous, and we see it repeatedly. But you know what? Let's move away from some of the politics, because we asked people to give questions, and I got like 400,000 questions that people want to ask you. So one of the big ones is, who's Milo Yiannopoulos dating these days? What's going on in the romantic life of Milo Yiannopoulos?
I don't talk about that. Actually, you'll notice that I never put anything about my real, actual private life on the internet. Mainly because I don't want them to get attacked. You know, even people who just go out with me, like, you know, I have like black friends who show up to my talks, and the Black Lives Matter protesters like try to assault them, and the police have to stop them. So as somebody actually dating me is in real trouble. So I make a point because, you know, I live very publicly, and I sort of do everything in public, and I kind of exist for other people's entertainment, education, and edification, and I enjoy that, and I love that, and I have a lovely relationship with you know, social whatever. But I have to keep a little sliver of life for me, and I also have to make sure the people that I care about are safe and are happy and are protected a bit from the chaos that surrounds me at all times.
Totally fair, and actually, just for the record, because, you know, for all these wing nuts that say Milo's such a racist and all that, not only do you really like black guys, like you really do. But when I went to the UCLA thing with you just a couple weeks ago, you know, I didn't know what to expect, right? So if you see the Trump rallies on TV, it always seems like there's this redneck element to it and blah, blah, blah. I don't even like saying that, like, because it sounds dismissive, and I don't want to be dismissive of the middle of the country, which is where plenty of good people live, and it's what New York and LA always dismisses.
Real America.
Yeah, but what everyone that I met after the rally, people were coming up to me saying they were conservative, they were liberal, but there were Asians, there were blacks, there were people in wheelchairs, there were everybody. There were I met two trans girls. I mean, everybody was there. And a lot of people were saying the only reason they're defending you isn't even that they like what you're saying as much as they just want to defend your right to say it. And that's what I'm all about. So that's the beautiful thing here.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was nice that you got to see that, and nice that you came to one of the talks. I'm going to try and invite all of my friends to sort of guest appear at the Dangerous Faggot Tour, and you and I, I'm sure, will do more of them before the end of the year. For a racist, sexist, misogynistic, homophobic, transphobic, you know, monster, I don't half have a diverse crowd at my events, you know, like, it's a pretty good mix. Now, yeah, sure, there's like a good contingent of like frat boys and all the rest of it, and so what, fuck you. But you know, they're great. And, you know, but there's a lot of women who come up to me afterwards and they're like, thank you for this, because these people do not represent me. And I don't want you to think all women are like this. And I know all women are like this. It's the tiny fringe of people who like control everything. I know that not all women are like this. Don't worry, sweetheart. But lots of them. And you know, a lot of Asians as well, because social justice, Asians, by which I mean, I never know what people mean by Asian in America. But I mean like Chinese people and mainly Chinese, and because there's lots of them in American, in the big American universities, and social justice has turned on Asians, because now with the SATs, you know, if you're Asian, they penalize you, because why? Like, Asians have a culture of working hard and they study really well, and so they perform really well. And so to give like black and Hispanic kids more of a chance to drop out of university, which is what always happens when they get affirmative action places, to give black and Hispanic kids a chance to waste a college place, they penalize Asians. You know, it's not even white people who are the primary victims of the SAT gerrymandering in the US. It's Asians. And I've started to notice like a big, like it's like a small little cluster of them, and but it's starting to grow in my talks. And every talk I do now, I notice a larger and larger proportion of Asian students, because they've, you know, you might, if you're not particularly educated or well versed on this stuff, imagine that they're just another minority the left has kind of got under its wing. But actually, they don't like them at all. Why? Because they're successful and positive and enthusiastic and hardworking and glamorous. And guess what? The left hates all those things. Because
that's stuff. Yeah. All right. Let's just plow through a whole bunch of. I got literally like 500 questions here. Okay, someone wants to know: do you support the legalization of weed? I don't think we've ever talked about weed before. I'm obviously 100% for legalization. Where are you on the weed?
Maybe that's why you always seem so dunderheaded. Are you permanently stoned?
It's called being decent, Milo. Decent.
Right. No, I'm more of an uppers person, I guess. No, I'm off all of that. I'm off all of that.
No, I don't mean to smoke it, but you're okay with the legalization, right?
I'll give you an answer to that. I'll tell you what. I'm on fish oil and vitamin D, multivitamins, and creatine, and some other stuff that I don't even know. I just put it in my mouth. I think the war on drugs has been a colossal waste of money and a terrible disaster. I don't like weed because I think it makes people stupid, but I cannot for the life of me imagine why it's illegal.
So I think that's a good enough answer right there. Wait, say hi to Vision Storm. What's going on, Vision Storm?
Vision Storm.
Yes.
You should probably change your name too. No, I'm just kidding. I'm guessing it's not your real name. Vision Storm.
And what about NecroDev? You love NecroDev.
NecroDev.
Dev.
Oh, NecroDev. Yeah, no, we like you. We like you. NecroDev's good name. Good name.
All right, guys. We are double. All the patrons are being doubled over 25 bucks. Everything's being doubled, but over 25 bucks. Milo's going to give you a shout out while we're on here. Okay, let's see what else.
I'll give you $500. You can have that from me as a little present. So you can have that.
$500 for Milo Yiannopoulos.
Yeah, I'll do that. That's
Do I have to send it all on like?
I'm embarrassed by all these people donating. I feel like I've been publicly shamed into giving you money, Dave.
It absolutely worked. All
now
right.
every time we write about you, I've got to declare an interest, but fuck it.
I'm not giving you a piece of the company. Sorry, buddy.
I want 2% and no less.
Yeah. Here's a good one because this is something that you mentioned when we did our talk in UCLA. You said that that black people are still owed something in America, which I think really pisses off a lot of your base in a way.
Yeah.
But you acknowledge.
I think it does actually.
No? So yeah, go ahead.
No, I think what I meant by that is there's still, people talk about the legacy of slavery. There is obviously still one. And, you do get to talk about racism if you're a black person, right? I'm not going to pretend that there is zero racism in the United States. I don't think it's the problem it's made out to be. I don't think that spoilt brat Black Lives Matter protesters in expensive private universities, with wealthy families whinging about, microaggressions have very much to complain about. But yeah, there are some lingering things and they deserve a better answer. And even where there's not, even where it's not a slavery thing, because I know some people are like, isn't that just like sins of the fathers and don't you hate that and all the rest of it? And I totally get that argument. And that, that point, that to me is only a small sliver of it. The main reason white people owe blacks an apology, the main reason white people owe blacks an apology is how badly Democrats have run black cities. And black people have some responsibility for this because they keep voting them in. But, whether it's the Clintons or whether it is the invariably Democrat mayor of Baltimore or Detroit or whatever it is, right, who have run these cities into the ground with terrible policies, who have done nothing to help blacks. On a rare occasion, you'll get somebody like Giuliani who saves thousands of black lives by policing properly. Where there is an apology that white people have to make to blacks, it is Democrats who have to apologize to blacks for how badly they have run their cities and how grotesquely they have worsened the racial divide in this country by treating black people as children, by not policing the communities properly, by not holding them to the same standards, by not giving black America the tools it needs to raise itself up and out of poverty and gang culture and crime. And it is, robbing people of the tools they need and robbing them of aspiration, of the American dream, telling them that all of their problems are someone else's fault, telling them that, if anything is wrong in their lives, if their brother got shot or they're too poor or they can't find a job, that it is a white guy's fault, is the worst kind of, it's a kind of sort of colonial racism, really. It's just sort of keeping people quiet and keeping them down by telling them lies. That's not how I would fix Black America. I would fix Black America by giving them better schools and encouraging them to go to Harvard, rather than breeding grievance culture and victimhood, which is what the left does. Why? Well, the left wants to engorge the size of the state as much as possible. It wants the largest possible federal government, and it wants all those black voters locked in. Well, actually, it's won, and it's got them, because was it 88% of blacks going to vote for Hillary? 88% of black people voting for Hillary are fucking dumb.
Well, because the issue really is because then they owe you nothing. If you have a voting bloc that is going to vote for you no matter what, you actually owe them nothing. So it would actually.
Exactly. You can promise them the world and deliver nothing, which is what Obama did. Obama, the racial relations in America have got worse, not better, under Obama. Why? Because he promised to be this post-racial healer and then did nothing, and in fact tacitly, allowed the situation to get way worse by Well, there's most of the time Obama didn't act when he should have, and he acted when he shouldn't have, right? You know, he's made unhelpful and counterproductive statements where he didn't need to speak at all, and where it really would have been nice if he'd intervened, like with Black Lives Matter, for instance, saying, "Sit down, shut up, you idiotic, petulant children funded by some, you know, rich Jewish billionaire lunatic. Shut the fuck up. I'm going to fix this by giving blacks better schools, better access to education and the workplace and all the rest of it, and, you know, improving the quality of housing, all this kind of stuff." He didn't do any of those things, and neither will Hillary Clinton.
All right, moving on. We got a lot here. We got a lot of serious things. I wanted some more like fun stuff, but a lot of serious things. So I think this is a really good one.
And it's a serious time in America, you know. It's
yeah,
serious.
I think this one's really good. And a couple of people asked something to this effect. They've heard what you've said about Muslims, and what they want to say is, well, that doesn't, you know, for the average person out there. So if there's some kid, some Muslim 15-year-old that's in Detroit who just wants to play video games, and he's like any other kid that doesn't prescribe to these beliefs or subscribe to these beliefs, how do we, when that kid hears you say those things, and he might go, wait a minute, but you're talking about my mom or my dad or my grandpa or something. How do we reach out to that kid in an effective way? Because that's where I always make that distinction. And I know I get what your sense is on that distinction, but it's obvious that there are kids out there and some adults who don't subscribe to this stuff. How do we reach out to them without demonizing the whole population?
Well, they're not really Muslims if they don't believe that stuff, you know? They're kind of cultural Muslims in the sense that lots of us are cultural Christians. Like, you know, we might go to church a couple of times a year, but we don't really like do it and believe it all, right? If you're a Muslim and you're just like a normal assimilated American because, you know, your parents or your grandparents were rich enough to be able to fly here, you're not, you know, I mean, like, do any of these people that you're talking about pray 5 times a day? Do they, you know, do they read their namaz? Are they, like, you know, giving their zakat? Are they, you know, are these people, you know, devout? You know, like, no. The extent to which you are not bigoted and not prejudiced on, you know, women and gays is inversely proportional to your, you know, your seriousness about your faith. Oh, fucking obviously, you know.
Right. So you sort of want the Muslim community in a way to do what Jews have done, which is pretty much most Jews are not religious in any way, but, you know, light some candles on Hanukkah or whatever else it is.
Yeah, I mean, well, look, the issue is a bit more complex with Islam because that religion makes claims for itself that others don't. You know, final, perfect, unalterable word of God, and the hadiths and the Sunnah and the Quran together constitute, you know, the last you're going to get. And that causes some problems. There's some structural problems there. So Islam hasn't been able to adapt itself as fluidly, or indeed at all really, like Christianity has to capitalism. Christianity's adaptation to modern democratic capitalistic liberal society has been phenomenally good. It has been remarkably effective at adapting itself to the civilizations in which it lives and staying current whilst protecting the core tenets of its faith. But there are all sorts of unique problems with Islam that prevent that.
Islam's so about the non-believers that the other religions don't say. But all right, let's move away from religion. I'm going to read off like 10 names to you. I just want one adjective per name. Okay, you ready?
I hate these games. Okay.
Angus.
Beefy. They say no. They're like, you know what I'm talking about? Like Angus steaks or something. I don't know.
Dan.
What? Dan. I don't think anyone's had a reaction to the name Dan.
Oh man, I'm gonna be upset.
But for our purposes, Dan is wonderful.
Dan is wonderful. Scott.
Scott is a good name. I always imagine Scots as being like snowboarders with those Oakley sunglasses. You know, that's like Scott.
That's Nicholas.
Nicholas, very good name. I had a very good friend at college, Nicholas. Very devout Catholic. Good lad.
Matt. I'm really taxing. It's like you could talk about anything forever, but if I ask you for one word to describe a name, it's like.
I think the problem is asking me to be concise.
All right, so I'm going to tell Matt and Dylan and Darren and Martin that they're all great, and I thank them.
They're all wonderful, and I don't have anything interesting to say apart from Dylan, of course.
You love Dylan. You love Dylan. Well, listen, we're crushing it here. We're almost at 21K. Let's get to 21K, and then I will let Milo go. So if you guys get us to 21K, I'm going to let Milo go play in Alaska. And
I've got guns to shoot. You are keeping me from an AR-15.
So that's what you're doing up there. You get your gun and you shoot some balloons, and you're expressing your freedom. And is Palin up there?
She is. We were down to meet up, but she couldn't do it because she had family stuff for Father's Day weekend. So maybe next time. Yeah, she lives down in Wasilla. I'm in Anchorage. which is a little bit north from there, I think.
Let me ask you, what's it like when you go back to London now? Because you've become in a way like a more of a cultural force or whatever in America than you probably are at home, right?
Yeah, I mean, everyone in England knows who I am, I think, but they don't particularly like me very much in England because I'm too blunt and too brash and too outspoken and you will find this difficult to believe, but Brits find me a little self-congratulatory. You know, they
I can't believe it. What?
No, they don't like that so much because the British way is to be humble and modest and self-effacing. And if you can believe this, I am regularly charged with a lack of humility in England. So yeah, I know. They don't like me very much there because I actually say what I think, and that's not what British people are supposed to do. So British people who, you know, sort of have a bad habit of speaking their minds tend to end up in America.
I want to see what your house is like in England. I picture a Downton Abbey thing. There's a drawing room.
I haven't really
got a lot of people downstairs. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I have a nice house. I'm building a new house. I'm currently, my builder has quoted me. I've said this before, and it's not actually a joke. I'm really thinking about doing it. My builder's quoted me an extra £50,000. It's like $80,000 to build an actual glass ceiling. In between like the 3rd and the 4th floor, so you know, like no women above, you know, the 3rd floor. It's like a real glass ceiling, you know, like an actual glass. I thought it was funny.
Oh, you see what you've done to me? You talk so fast with so many bizarre words with you British people. You said a glass ceiling. I didn't even put it all together.
Yeah, no. I'm currently deciding whether I put an actual glass ceiling in the house. You know. So I might do that. No, so my house is going to be really nice. It's going to be like 4,500 square feet on 4 floors, which is not huge for America, but it's quite big for London. And it's going to have like, I'm going to decorate it in sort of successively more elaborate layers. So the ground floor is going to be like clean, like marble and glass. And the next floor up is kind of like cozy country cottage. And the next floor up is like grand, austere French kind of like 13th arrondissement, kind of big ceilings, like dark wood, big furniture. And then the top floor, my bedroom, is going to be like Versailles, you know, like big gilt mirrors and the library and the dressing room and everything. It's going to be fantastic.
People want to know the real difference between Dave Rubin and Milo Yiannopoulos. The real difference is that all I want in life is to not have all IKEA furniture. You're building Versailles in your bedroom. I mean, that really it's the fundamental difference between the two of us.
I work very hard, and I've always worked very hard. I've worked hard for nearly 10 years, and I'm enjoying the fruits of my labors. I don't know what you want me to say.
I know you are, but look, I'm not lying. I am on an IKEA couch, and there's my yes.
No, don't. I can't look at it. I can't look at it. I can't look. It's just too horrible.
Well, listen, I'm gonna let you go. But first off, I want to thank everybody that jumped on Patreon, and it's RubinReport.com/donate and Patreon.com/RubinReport, and we're doing something great here. And listen, you know, for me and you, it's just the beginning of whatever it is that the two of us are doing. And whether I agree with you, as I keep telling people, whether I agree with you or not on everything, it's a moot point. I got to defend someone's right to say some shit. And
you agree with me on everything. You are falling in line one by one with everything I've ever said. When I came on your show first time and you were like, no. When I came on the second time, you had basically moved 75% of the way towards me. And you are falling in line with everything because you know I'm basically right about everything. But are you just going to take a little bit more persuading? You know, as for whether you'll ever vote Trump, I don't know. But everything else, you're coming over. I know you're coming over. I'm going to get you on everything.
It's cost you a lot more than $500, my friend.
Well, I might up that. We whatever this peculiar, affectionate bromance is brewing between us for the edification of the American public, I'm enjoying it, and I hope that people do support your show because I love it. And your show's been very good to me. You know, lots of people saw me first on your show, for which I'm very grateful. Because when I wasn't such a big name as I am now, you know, the biggest thing I did was your show first time around. So I'm grateful to you, and people should support you because you have great guests and many more in the future, I'm sure.
Milo Yiannopoulos, you know how to end a live stream. You are a good man. That's it. All right, thanks everybody. Milo, enjoy the rest of Alaska.
Thanks, darling.
Go play with your freedom or whatever it is you people do.
I'm gonna go shoot something. Sasquatch.
Talk soon.